have another change in capacity this morning, minus 0.1 ampere hours. We are down to 74.5%, which is 28.3 ampere hours all in total. While we are waiting for this awesome electric gate now, we can have another look here, and we can see we've got again the roughly 500 kilometers in between and 2 weeks, 15 days. 15 days, 500 kilometers in between the loss of capacity, decrease of health. And on this sunny morning we've got 26 degrees at 6:48, and the battery temperature is already 31 and 34 degrees. So this is the third morning in a row now where we have these high temperatures, and you can see the battery is not cooling down below 30 degrees anymore. I don't think it is. I start charging at 12 AM in the night, and the battery still has roughly 30 degrees. The outside temperature stays above 25 degrees during the night at the moment, and there's no time to cool down the battery actually. And as I said, the outside temperature is just not cool enough to actually cool down the battery. So it cools down a little bit, but not that much. And if you watch other YouTube videos from for example from the Nissan Leaf, which does not have any battery thermal management at all, you can see they are driving the battery until about 52, 53 degrees Celsius in summertime. And there's no cooling, it only has passive cooling. Obviously Nissan still thinks this is alright. So over 50 degrees Celsius in the battery is not harming the battery as per their specifications. And this is in line with what I found about the LEV 40 and LEV 50 cells in the Outlander PHEV. The battery temperature can be up to 55 degrees Celsius during operation. I think this is pretty hot, and as you know, the battery cooling kicks in at 35 degrees anyway, so at a relatively low temperature already. And I think if the battery stays at 30 degrees like in our climate right now here, that is totally fine. This 30 degrees is the optimal temperature for this battery. And if you do a little bit of research about battery temperatures, battery charging for lithium-ion batteries, you can find that you should not charge your battery below 0 degrees. So if the battery itself has 0 degrees, you should not charge it at all. It's super harmful for the battery. And you also should not charge the battery above 50 degrees anymore. And I think I mentioned this before. There are videos out there showing the battery temperature in Teslas when they do supercharging, and they can charge up to 45 degrees Celsius on full 110 kilowatts. So obviously there's no limitation from Tesla as well. But again, this is a liquid cooled battery. Much better cooling performance than in the Outlander PHEV, which is just air cooled. And the UQ overpass, and we've got 5.5 ampere hours. So 5.5 ampere hours only until the overpass. This is far less than in winter time when we used 6.7 ampere hours until exactly the same location here. And as every morning, the air conditioned cooling has kicked in to cool the battery pack. 350 watts around is it using, and battery temperature is 34 degrees. So, and now we have arrived with 8.9 ampere hours. 9, okay. We've arrived with 9 ampere hours and 70.3% state of charge. So I roughly have another 10 ampere hours to get home. And this is usually possible because I'm driving this little detour now, this different way home. So I'm sparing half of the highway drive, which uses less energy. That's why we are down to 9 ampere hours only, and I can still make it to work and back in one go in very moderate, slow Miss Daisy driving style. Turn this off here. So this afternoon, 36 degrees outside, a little bit cooler than yesterday. Battery cooling is still running. Battery temperatures are 26 and 37. So this is higher than yesterday because I drove on the highway back home, and of course it causes more heat loss in the battery, more heat generation while driving, and we've got 37. But this is pretty much the maximum I've ever seen in there, so it doesn't get much higher. And it's still under 50 degrees, so shouldn't be a problem at all. Otherwise you would expect Mitsubishi would have changed this for the Australian cars here and made the cooling kick in earlier at about 30 degrees instead of 35. But apparently it's not a big deal. I got an interesting comment from Johnston Hansen. I hope I have pronounced it. He said, "Hello Andy, my battery temperature is averaging around 32 degrees. Low 23, high 42. The battery temperature is around 32 degrees on average. That is very interesting and a very valuable comment. So thank you very much, John. Thanks. If you want to read all the comments, they are in episode 136.3. That's the third part of this series of this. While we are waiting for the gate to open, have a look. We are on 98.9% state of charge. This is somehow a magic number. Absolutely magic. So anyway, Johnston is driving a 2019 model, a brand new 2019 model. And I was asking in this video, what temperatures are you getting? And he was so kind to respond to me and give me some information about the 2019 model. And we know for a fact the 2019 model has a battery heater, a battery warmer in there. So it heats the battery as well as cooling it. And he said even in temperatures between 1 and 7 degrees outside Celsius, the battery temperature is around 30 degrees all the time. So that means that's what we are seeing here with our battery temperatures in summertime between 30 and 35 degrees. It's not hot. This is not like, oh, you're cooking the battery, Andy, you're cooking the battery. Drive slowly, don't charge, let it rest. It doesn't seem like we have to worry about the battery temperature. So it doesn't seem like we have to worry about the battery temperature that much. It also seems like the claims people make, we here in Australia have higher degradation because of higher temperature, that does not seem to stack up anymore, because the 2019 model keeps the battery in this high temperature. High temperature. I guess I'm using more energy this morning. I've got headwind now, which I had last night as a tailwind. Oh, look at these birds here. So from what he reported is the Outlander PHEV 2019 keeps the battery temperature on a fairly constant 30 to 35 degrees anyway. And this is obviously the optimal temperature for the battery to where it performs the best. The modified LEV50N cell has an operational temperature of 55 degrees Celsius, which is fairly high. And if they keep the battery between 30 and 35 degrees anyway, that's the optimal temperature. And that's what we are seeing right now here in Australia. So the battery must be in the optimal temperature. So, and this all makes sense now, because this is why the battery cooling kicks in at 35 degrees. It doesn't kick in earlier because 30-35 degrees is the optimal temperature for the battery. So the cooling kicks in at 35 because then it's getting too warm and they start cooling it down. I think still 40 degrees, what Johnston reported, 42 degrees he has seen, is still okay. But as a precaution they start cooling at 35. And this is probably the reason they don't activate the cooling while AC charging, because discharging will not heat up the battery very much. So as I have tested it numerous times now, there is almost no heat built up while AC charging. Even on 15 amp there's not much heat generated in the battery. Apparently the newer models, the 2018 and probably the 2019 as well, they cool on AC charging as well. And with a proper battery thermal management system now they have implemented, so we've got cooling and we've got heating. It keeps the battery in the optimal range now, temperature range, and it also makes sense to cool the battery while charging. So you want to make sure the battery is always between 30 and 35 degrees, always. Oh yes, we've got really strong headwind, and we are coming close to the overpass now. Oh, a dirty diesel, 2-liter TDI, that's the bad one. Overpass, and we've got 6.5 ampere hours. 6.5. This is what I usually got in winter time when it was really cold. I mean really cold for here. So okay guys, anyway, thanks Johnston for your comments and all your information provided for the 2019 Outlander PHEV battery situation. This was very helpful and it all makes sense now when you put all these figures together and think about it. So guys, as always, thanks for watching, thanks for your support. This is Andy from Unplugged TV Australia signing off. You stay charged and we will see us in the next video. Okay, thanks, bye bye.